Party. The Labour Party supports these bills.
I call Todd Buckley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a privilege to speak on the third reading for this particular bill. I'd just like to acknowledge the speakers who have gone before me, in particular our Chair, Karmal Singh Bakshi, for your stern leadership of the Law and Order Select Committee, and your interference in the House before as well. I have to agree with Mr Speaker, it was quite unlike you, but a very sage point. And I'd just like to acknowledge also the previous speaker, Mr Parker, and a number of the points that he was making on reflection regarding some of the motives and the unfortunate characteristics of many of the offenders who are currently in prison for the first time, and repeat offenders as well. We heard a statistic from the Department of Corrections that about 80% of inmates have drug or alcohol or both related characteristics which are a negative part of their offending. And I think the fundamental part of this bill, or the intent behind it, isn't to say if you're an offender we're going to randomly slap a drug and alcohol testing regime around you. It's for the Department of Corrections and Police to give have a greater ability to actually monitor those who are on bail or out on parole with a condition around drug or alcohol use, to actually enable them to enforce that and to follow up, because for most offenders who are repeat offenders, as we know, that they have drug or alcohol related incidences, and part of this is to help try and protect them while they're in prison and they're undergoing drug and alcohol rehabilitation. When they exit back into society again, is to help the continuation of that treatment, and if they know that there is enforcement around drug or alcohol use as a condition of them being released out into the public, they're less likely to offend and they're less likely to utilise those substances, which in effect means that there's a greater chance that they're less likely to offend in a criminal space, which saw them put into the corrections system in the first instance. One of the aspects of the bill that the Select Committee expanded on was the inclusion of psychoactive substances as one of those, and the ability for police and corrections to test. And it's quite important because a couple of years ago, before the government put in place legislation and restrictions around the use, there was a massive blow-up of that use in our community, and there is still a flow-on effect from that, and many of the offenders have evidence of using that. So thank you, Mr Speaker. It was a privilege to sit on the committee and listen to the submissions, and I have no, it's a privilege to commend this bill to the House. Thank you.
I call David Clendon.
Thank you, Mr